Aloha, this is the NYCP monthly talking circle for September. Let's go ahead and get disclaimed.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Okay, now that we've got disclaimed, we still have a couple more people joining us. So again, welcome. This is the NYCP Talking Circle. We've just finished our disclaimer, and we're headed off to look at what we're talking about today. So today we are going to be again continuing the discussion around data sharing. I just wanted to let you know that your OIETA team has been working on putting together a template for data sharing agreements. But what we're going to talk about today is some of the what I call the behind the scenes work that can be valuable for both internal processes, external communication, as well as utilizing it for possible data sharing agreements. And then we're going to tie up some end of the year business and then some upcoming events. So let's get started. Today joining us is Donna Bussell, your NYCP Program Officer.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here. We got our APRs. I know since some of you are here, our APRs are not our APRs, but our new GANs and everything will be distributed really soon. Hopefully, I'll have them done by tomorrow. So we'll be able to get going on that. Just wanted to let everybody know.
Awesome. Thanks, Donna. That's some great news. The new year, wrapping up the previous year and heading into the new year. So thanks for all that hard work. So I'm Oleni. I am with the OIE Technical Assistant team, and I'll be your facilitator today. So, usually when we started last session talking about data sharing, there's a lot of interest around, what are the elements of data sharing agreement. But before we even get there, there are some really key questions, and we've gone over this a couple times in like when we looked at the logic model and we looked at also performance measures. And so here are some of the key questions where we move from needing data to data sharing. What are the questions you're trying to answer? And what is the data that is important to that? What are the key sources of that data? And can this data connect to larger impacts? I'm sure a lot of you have already answered this data. And I know a lot of times when we come into the talking circle, we're really thinking specifically about the grant. But when we talk about data sharing, we could be talking about data sharing on a larger sort of organizational scale. So those are some things to think about. But before we jump to like a full-blown data sharing agreement, there's some back office or behind the scenes work that we're going to talk about. And again, a lot of this work, if you articulate it, talk about it within your organization, develop processes and policies maybe even, and then begin to articulate that can help both internally with staff and bringing on new staff, getting them acclimated to data sharing in your data system, as well as external communications. And then of course, what we want to get to is a data sharing agreement. So here are some things that Tracy and I have seen as we've been researching data sharing and data sharing. Really, there are three things you should be looking at: people, process, and technology. So when we talk about people and people considerations, here are some key elements that you might want to think about for your organization. How is student privacy at the center of your data collection system? I know we've heard in previous talking sessions about when you folks have gone out to talk to schools and talk to some organizations that there have been a lot of questions regarding, regarding your processes around data sharing, FERPA, and sort of how you're putting student privacy at the center of your data collection. Who is identified as your data manager? So thinking about, is there one person? Maybe it's not a sole position, but is there one person who's responsible for managing the data? And is it a part of their data position description? Or maybe, how about this? Do they even know that that's part of their role? And are you providing capacity development for them? And what are they responsible for as part of their data system? And then, are you investing in this data manager? Are you investing technical assistance, maybe some PD? Are they getting support in that area? And then, how are you developing not just your data manager, but your entire staff that may be looking at the data or collecting or having partnerships with different sources of data? Are they being developed as far as capacity? So now we want to get to, we want to get to a place where we're having some discussion. So again, you can turn off your mic. And here, I know a lot of you folks have done a lot of this work already. So if you wouldn't mind sharing how your organization handles student privacy as part of your data system, that's the one question. And then the second one is, how does your organization build strategic relationships related to data sharing? Anyone can share maybe what what you're doing within your organization.
Alani, I can tell you that Blue Lake Rancheria assigns a number to the student, and so we hide all of their information. All there is a student number.
Nice.
So when we're looking at data, we can say absences, and we can follow that student for multiple years by a student number.
Yeah, that's a great tool and a great strategy. Others?
This is Fredina with the Nevada Department of Ed.
Hi.
And we have our two sub-grantees in two tribal locations, and they have MOUs with their school district in the school itself to work with students. I don't know if that's,
yeah.
The privacy is that in one school, we have school liaisons who are already district employees, and the other was a tribal but was in the school and worked right along with the school.
Nice. That's a great, again, a great strategy to connect both from the school to the organization. So that's really, really great. And then I see Chris is saying from Salt River that you folks also use a unique student number for your student information system. So that's great, because then that, again, you don't have to worry about students' names being found. One question I did want to ask you folks, I mean, if you are dealing with maybe small groups of students, even with when you go out and share the data, if you have a small class or a small maybe cohort, how do you deal with a small number of students? Because sometimes it can actually be identified, or people can assume certain things. So do you share that data for small group information? And if so, how do you do that?
Hi, this is Julie. I'm with Gila River Community, and some of our numbers are definitely small under our grant. And a lot of times we just share that data differently. We don't share the individual data. We, kind of crunch that a little bit before, so that they're not so it's not identifiable.
Yeah.
And we address our data sharing by at the beginning when we partner with them and kind of give them their budgets and whatever, because we have multiple schools we work with. All All of that is in the MOU from day one,
Oh,
so that they're clear with what data we need. Our evaluator works with us very closely so that we know what they need, and then we really haven't had the challenges, but made sure that the MOU covers, they know what we need. There's been a couple things that they've said, oh, we can't give you that. And then sometimes they're not make or break, and we'll back down on some of those just so that, we're not blocking the ability to work with them. But
yeah.
I think that MOU from the beginning, very carefully written and having it spelled out makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a great idea, connecting the data sharing to your other work, right? Whether it's providing services or even possibly funding too. So connecting those pieces.
Yeah, ours is funding, so yeah.
That helps. That definitely helps because I think that does is it communicates a partnership, right? That there is that resources are flowing both ways. It's not just a one-way street, but you're in it together. The other thing I think too is if you can provide data that also helps that organization as well. So thinking in larger terms, and that's why I preface this by, I know when we get together in these talking circles, a lot of times we come with the grant in mind, but sometimes when you need to think about data system and data sharing, you're thinking in terms of your larger organization, and so looking at ways where your data can also benefit maybe the partner that you need to get some of the data from. And I liken it to thinking about like collective impact, where you're trying to look at community data that can benefit multiple partners. Awesome. Anybody else want to share around what you're doing around student privacy and or building strategic relationships for data sharing? If not, we'll move over to the next sort of leg in our stool around data system. Is really around process consideration. So, what is your purpose for sharing or collecting data? Defining that. What is the timeline for data sharing and collection? How often is data uploaded and processed? What methods and processes are in place to secure data? And what is the process for retention and destruction of data? I'm sure a lot of you folks have that information put together. Again, it's really helpful even to have this in sort of like a data system handbook for staff, so that they're aware of it. And also, sometimes it's really good to show pieces of this, maybe on your website, to show that you are a responsible collector of data and that you have this whole data system worked out behind you. So those are some of the considerations Tracy and I found as we're researching data sharing. And so I wanted to sort of see from you folks how you are doing this. What is your purpose for collecting data? Let's just start with that because that's a big question.
This is Allison. I
Mhm.
would say our purpose of collecting data is multifold.
Yeah.
The primary one is our continuous improvement process. So we can say this is the goals that we had set. Are we achieving our goals? And if we aren't, we be able to measure our goal achievement. So that's one of that. And then by looking and analyzing the data that we've collected, we can then make strategic changes based upon the data. So it's for data, it's decision making.
Yeah.
So goal attainment, decision making, and then I would say I'm going to use the word sustainability, but by presenting our data to our community partners, we can then bring them into our program to help us sustain it on what the data points they would like to support, various programs they would like to support. So those would be the three things that pop to my mind that how BLR uses our data.
Awesome. Yeah, those are three critical areas. Others?
Hey, Oleana, this is Donna Ritchie. Hey,
Hi.
I was going to share. So we're NIEA. We partnered with a program that's called CIS, or Communities in Schools. And so the CIS model uses some data systems. So we were able to partner with our local school district with an MOU. And so that allowed us to, allowed the school to share data with us as well, so we could meet more of the students' needs. And so the great thing about utilizing the CIS model and their data system is that it's really nice, because all of the data that we're collecting does, kind of like Allison said, meet so many different objectives for that. It helps us to identify our students, meet the goals that we had set, within the grant parameters. But the other amazing thing is CIS also worked with us and established specific data so we could share with, I'm in Oklahoma, so we have 39 tribes. Well, of course I'm in Oklahoma. We have 39 tribes represented, right? And just 7 that are right here within the district. And so we were allowed to, CIS wrote in their data management so that we could collect that kind of data to share with our tribal partners as well, that we partner with and bring in and say, hey, here are our students, that and what their needs are. And then we also collect lots of surveys within that too, from it's multifaceted, between the community, parents, students, and all of that, in order to find out, how we continue to meet those students' needs and those goals. And so, so we've been able to share some of that data still in a private manner, with our school district. And so it's really made it helpful in establishing the relationship with our school as well, because they know we're here to, not take over their data or anything, but actually use it and share it with them. And they're able to gather that data as well and use it.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's really showing the partnership and the thing I was talking about, the two-way street, right? And
Yeah.
and I think what you folks, both you and Allison, are saying is, one thing is you're really using the data to make an impact and to show the impact you're making in the community, and with individual students, and then with groups of students, and then your program impact in the community, which is, you know, super. And definitely having to look at data in different ways. So awesome. I also see Patricia is chiming in on the chat that they use data for continual program improvement. And so does Joy. So that is really important. And how you collect that data, and then be able to digest it within your organization, right? Anyone else want to share maybe some process they're doing, that they've instituted around their data system?
Well, I did want to say, Olani, that the data that we have isn't just strictly numbers and crunching numbers. A lot of it is qualitative in responses to surveys and feedbacks that we give our students and our community members, our parents. So we get the qualitative data has actually, and the data that we receive when people come to our Board of Education meetings and have public comment.
Yeah.
That is helping us. So it's not just all number crunching.
Right, right. Yeah, that's some of that, and a picture tells 1,000 words, right? I mean, it really can grab. And I just have my sort of fundraiser hat on, I mean, if you can get someone to approve their quote and put it into some of your fundraising materials and show the kids in action, that's a very powerful message. A quote and a picture can raise a lot of money. Sorry, but as a segue. But just you can see all the different ways that you can use data, but also you have to be mindful about how you're working that into your organization's processes. And so it seems like a lot of you are doing that through continual improvement processes, as well as sharing that out. So that's great. Anyone else want to share what they're doing around process development, maybe even articulation? Where are you? Where are you writing this down? Your processes down, and where and what is your audience if you are writing that down?
Um,
Yeah, go ahead, Alison.
well, right now it's on a myriad of spreadsheets that we have on a shared server.
Mhm.
And what we're looking into several different databases that can help us. One of them for all of the policies, because we're a new TEA, we've been around all of 2 years. All of the things that we're looking at something called Policy Manager to help
Mhm.
us manage all of the policies and procedures and things. But we also we're basically building on spreadsheets right now before we invest in a system. And so we're looking and open to I had looked at something called ESIS a while ago back,
Yeah,
but it seems too massive for
yeah,
our organization right now. But yeah, I'm open to hearing what people are using for data
yeah,
management besides Excel and Access.
yeah. Does anyone is anyone using a system to manage that? Whether it's their policies, procedures.
Alani, just
Yes.
real quick, I have talked one-on-one with almost every grantee on here, and y'all are all doing amazing work. Share what you're doing with everyone else, because some of the things that you're doing and how you're collecting data may work for somebody who doesn't quite know how to collect that data yet. So we're here to help out one another, and I don't want to have to call anyone out, because I know you guys are doing some awesome stuff, but I'll have to put my teacher voice on in a minute.
Yeah, I know they're doing great work. So thanks, Donna, for that. Okay, well, let's move over. That kind of segues us into the sort of the next leg of our data system stool, which is technology consideration. So, all of the different processes can have a myriad of different technology solutions, and I think Allison was talking about going from Excel to a more, I guess I would say, sophisticated system where you're going to be able to manage it over time. And so when you think about data and technology, thinking about the collection, the warehousing and storage, the preparation of data so that, you're taking, student numbers and attendance days and working it out to where it actually can make sense and say something to somebody, as well as the sharing and then the presenting of data. And so this would be, these are some elements when you think about technology. And then the other thing is who has access to the data and data system. Again, being able to articulate the technologies and the access issue around that is also really helpful if you're thinking about your process. And so let's get into the sharing piece about around what technology are you using for data collection, warehousing and storage, preparation, um, data sharing and presenting it. I know one of the challenges around technology is we want one system to do it all really, really well. And that's hard to find, right? Some systems can say they do it all, but they're really, really good at this piece. And you need to find the other piece to sort of integrate into that. And so I just want to maybe maybe we can share lessons learned and technologies that worked and didn't work. Um, so you can go ahead and just share. And I see some in the chat. Allison says she's moving to, everybody's going, hold on a sec, that moved. Moving into Access for now. Okay, cool. Um, and Patricia, we use the data system called Apricot. I've seen that. That's it's a comprehensive database and is used organization wide, not only with, awesome. Okay, and that sounds like it's working well for you. Oh, so the Survey Monkey for feedback surveys, paper forms, reports provided by LEAs. Awesome. Other people, Survey Monkey, that's a data collection. Anybody using a data warehousing or storage system? No?
Alani, this is Chris from Salt River.
Hi.
We actually do have our IT department is able to take a variety of the databases that we have in our education department, such as our student information system. And then we have like our benchmark assessment data, we have our annual assessment data, and they're able to then compile that through a data, I don't know how they do it, through some type of a data warehouse, where if I let them know what I need on a report, they're able to pull it from a variety of databases that are kept within our department, so that we can pull those reports. So I do use it like for collecting our enrollment, school enrollment data, our demographic data, as well as the academic achievement data for various reporting, that has to be done. But as far as our NYCP grant goes, I was typing, and I'll just say it since I'm on now. We started at the beginning of our 4 years with looking at what our grant goals are, and then determining what data we needed to collect to show our success at meeting the goals for each year. And we are just doing that on an Excel spreadsheet. And then we review that quarterly and look at the data. And then at the end of the year, it gets put onto our APR report.
Nice. Oh, thanks for you just articulated sort of your whole process around it, and that's awesome. And boy, that would be I would love to have an IT team that could pull all different kinds of resources. What a gift that is, definitely. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, you know what, I thought of one other thing is when we have small amounts of data, like some of our classes are really small, we are really careful with not sharing those numbers out. They get marked with an asterisk so that it's not like part of any data that's shared with anyone other than the programmatic reporting that needs to be done for monitoring or for audits. I don't know if that helps, but that's as far as our student privacy goes. That's how that's handled as part of our warehousing and storage.
Nice. Yeah, there's that small group issue, right? So that's a great way to handle it. And again, I just want to reiterate, like being able to articulate that and to be able to write it down and to be able to share it so that you have it for the longevity of your program is really, really key. Anyone else? Is any of these sort of what kind of technology are you using around maybe even data preparation? So, what system are you using to sort of take your data from, again, like I said, like looking at a class attendance or student attendance and being able to turn it into something that is both people can digest as well as be able to have a conversation around and make some decision making. Are you using any different types of technology tool? I see Patricia saying smart sheets to track her goals. That's a great system too. Okay. And then when you do go, like let's say you are presenting, I know a couple of you said to tribal boards or maybe to your, another school board or partners. What system are you using? What technology are you using to do that sharing? Are you creating dashboards or are you maybe using your website or presentation? Canva is another technology piece that you could do.
Actually, Blick Rancheria is getting Canva. That's something we just piloted the last 2 months to see if we liked it. We are going to get that. But what I've done for now is I have an Excel spreadsheet that has all of the information, thousands and thousands of rows, and I create a pivot table off of that. And then there's these things called slicers that you can put on the top of the pivot table that are big buttons that then whoever you're presenting it to can choose to move the pivot table and the data based upon what they want, and I lock down the data, where the data is derived from, and only the things I want shown are allowed to be on the clickies. And then I can send them that, and it's kind of interactive, so I actually get a little more engagement from my BOE members and our community, our parents advisory committee, because then they can play around with the data and focus on what they actually care about. So Excel has been our go-to program.
Yeah, it's a great program for sure. I mean, it can take you a lot of places. Anyone else?
Okay, so we do, our communities and schools does use a Canva to collect our data. And Patricia, I may be hollering at you because we are doing the social solutions this year. So we're learning that as opposed to the other system that's used by national communities and schools. But anyway, I got out, I don't know if y'all can see, I got out the big poster, I should have, but this is something that, you know, whatever I ask her to create for me for what I'm needing, like that's what she'll utilize Canva with. And this one was just something I was asking for lately for our local tribes as we're, you know, getting ready to meet with them on, you know, what we're looking at. So it's just a nice graphic that was easy. We used it for our, you know, back to school event to share with our communities and our partners on, you know, what that impact looks like for our students. And what we can do. So that was kind of what we're doing. But yeah, Patricia, I may be reaching out to you about this social solutions. But the great thing about that, it is you can tailor it for what you need. And that's how it was tailored to, you know, those goals that we're working on. And so, you know, in the data collection that we have for those students that we work with. So it is really nice and helpful.
Yeah. And that was a great poster. And it's pretty easy. I mean, it's relatively easy, right?
Yeah, I wish I could say I created it, but I didn't.
I know. I played around on Canva too, and I mean, I'm not a graphic artist, and it really makes you look good. And so I'm going to scroll up. We're talking about social solutions. And so maybe if you could just share a little bit about what that program does. I think that was Patricia, yeah.
I'm sorry, I needed to get myself off mute.
Okay.
You're asking about Apricot?
Yes.
Yeah. So Apricot is a system that was built by Social Solutions. It was actually introduced to us quite a while ago. And about a year and a half ago, we decided to adopt that system across the board for all of our services here at the Phoenix Indian Center. So we went through a very kind of structured process with Social Solutions about our data, what are the fields that we need to track our data. Mm-hmm. And they were able to really help us develop this data tracking system for us.
I see.
We create individual records for all of our students, clients, individuals who come to us for services have individual records. Mm-hmm. They do receive a number. Our front lines case managers or those working directly in the school system with youth can enter case notes. Mm-hmm. What part of the beauty of the system is we can also pull records between the adults that are in some of our adult services and the youth that are in our youth services. And we can kind of look at how we can wrap that family better with services based on what's going on at home. So we're able to look at that through the data analysis. We're able to let's see, structure, what do we want our reports to look like. So we worked with Apricot to actually structure some reports, and through a couple of punches of the buttons, we can just pull reports, along with pulling data out to do some crosstabs and some different types of analysis. So it gives us a lot of ability to manage our data.
Nice.
It also has a whole system because we do a lot of skill building classes. So we can enter class registrations. We can take our data that we pull from Zoom. So our Zoom data tells us how long a youth or a class participant logged on. Did they stay on the entire time? And then pull that data to electronically send them a feedback form that we do in SurveyMonkey. So we kind of track the whole system across, and Apricot is one of our main utilities that we use to do that.
Great. Thanks for sharing. That really gives us a insight into that. Seems like a very powerful system.
It is. It is.
Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Go ahead, Allison.
I was wondering, I mean, I as you were talking, I pulled it up on the side of my screen and I was looking through things, and it has case management ability so people don't fall through the cracks. I was wondering, the only thing I didn't see, and does it have a place for all of your various like policies or forms to be attached to things? Like if a student, you're keeping track of a student's files, and if they're missing forms or missing, you know, does it have that ability to attach things or manage forms and policies?
That's a great question. It does. So it allows us to upload those forms right there. And we just are in the process of bringing in DocuSign. So we're able to get all personalized, you know, just through a very secure method to get signatures from parents and from youth. And then you can attach that completed document directly to that use file.
Oh, that's great. We're using HelloSign right now. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
It's okay. It's a little clunky and I get a lot of emails, but it's working for right now. I'm always looking for a better, more efficient way of doing things. And, you know, you learn as you go, unfortunately.
Yeah, we were using the Adobe Sign for some of our consultant contracts and things of that sort. And we just really thought we needed to invest in a more kind of robust and system that parents might be more familiar with, right? And we just chose to go with DocuSign.
Yeah. Can I ask, I mean, and anybody else out there have a system like Apricot, what is the time it takes to get it up and running, like the investment of staff time for an implementation of a system like that?
You know, I'll say for us, it took us, I would say, I don't know, I'm guessing 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
So it took us a lot of time working directly with Social Solutions and their team. And then we had the import of our current data because we wanted we didn't want to start from scratch.
Right.
We wanted to bring in our current data. So they handled all of that import.
Nice.
And then we actually hired a technical writing graduate student to come in and write the manuals. We looked at the Apricot, you know, manuals. They were an extra cost, and we had just made so many personalized kind of changes to the fields. And then we had a real thought and idea about how that data entry would occur and who would do the data entry. And it's a little different for each of our service areas.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
And so we just did our own writing to the manuals. And I'll tell you, she was phenomenal. Her manuals are the easiest to follow. I mean, they're just real, they're detailed and they're simple, and we were really happy with that piece. But yeah, it takes some time because you have to really think about your data differently, and you learn a lot about the back end and how data comes in and what it looks like on the front end.
Yeah.
Even as we wrote our report scripts with Apricot.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much, Tricia, because I'm trying to think, you know, in the terms of when can I put this in our long range plan, strategic plan, and 4 to 6 months of implementation. I would imagine there's prep work to get all the data that you're going to load and have imported into the right formats, and all of that kind of stuff that needs to be done as well.
Absolutely, it's a lot of data cleanup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really key, Allison. What you're talking about is sort of like, how do I fit this in? When is the right time into sort of the larger work around the organization? And finding that time and then finding the support necessary to do that, the people, the technology, you know, the whole thing is an investment, definitely, and thinking around it strategically. Awesome. Julie put in the text, in a former grant project, we used social solutions and found that it took too much time for us to set up because they had large numbers in the project. That's good consideration, again, on the size of your project and setup. And I think, like Allison, you said, like the questions you're asking about what is it going to take to get this lifted, right? And then Winona, are these data manuals or processes something that can be shared between our groups? Oh, that was, yeah, we can, I mean, if you folks want to share any information with each other, you can go ahead and do that. Whether it's a document or you can just put in the chat. Or you can like maybe talk to each other and email each other. That works as well. If we can find some data I think that's a great idea about using your own writer to do that. And maybe you can also find a graduate student who maybe needs to do some internship or something, you know. I mean, maybe you can look at like how you can reduce that cost. But that's a great, particularly when you're putting so many of your own effects into a system, right? You want to make sure it's matches what's going on with your organization. Awesome. Again, thanks you guys for sharing. That was really, I learned a lot. So I guess the point of this is that, you know, every organization is different, but there are those 3 key things to consider when you're developing your data system. People, process, and technology. And it may look a little different. There may be some similarities and there may be some uniqueness to each organization. And so, but those 3 considerations, those 3 large elements should be a part of your data system. And then turning that over and moving that into, articulating that into your data sharing agreements as well. And so we can move on to our end of the year reminders. Just if you didn't know, fiscal year ends September 30th. The new year begins on October 1st. So yay. And like like Donna had said, your GANs, she's working on your GANs, they should be coming out. Be sure when you get it, you're going to get an email that says, you know, your GANs is available. You need to go into G5 to look at it and review it. And I think you can actually even download it and print it out. Be sure to review it for that you have the correct project director, that the project director is at the correct level of effort, and you have the correct contact information. Contact information is really, really important. So make sure all those 3 things are correct. Don, did you have anything you wanted to say about this?
Yeah, so I'm, like Olani said, I'm working on all of those. And I'm going back in all of our emails. I have everything saved. Your project director, if you change project directors or certifying officials, I wasn't able to get those changed in G5 until all of this went through. So now that this is back from clearance, I'll be able to go through and do that as well. So my goal is to get it done before the end of the day tomorrow, but there's quite a few of them. So I'll be working all day, and hopefully you'll have those by Monday. But I will email those to your project director and your certifying official. I'll put on a high importance and a read receipt on the email, and I'll upload those into your G5 because I don't have my handy dandy little PIV card at the moment. So download all of each GAN individually, sign on my computer, save it, then upload it and do everything else. So it will take a little while, but I'm hoping to get those to you guys by Monday. I'll work on it this weekend as well if I need to.
Great. So you also want to check for the actual award amount. And then I know we get all excited and we stop at the actual award amount, but please read the entire GANs. There may be some conditions that you want to make sure you read over and review and make sure that you meet those conditions moving forward. Donna, was there anything I missed? Anything else you wanted to say about the GANs?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, cool. Just checking. Also, remember, if you reported 999 on your APR, you need to begin to prepare your report on the data that you should have acquired or be acquiring. The quantitative data, make sure it's in ratios. And then explanation of progress. So revising those. I know a lot of you were like, okay, well, we're planning this and we're going to collect this, but it's not here. So now's the time to go ahead and prepare that report. For grants ending on September 30th, you have your final performance reports are due 120 days after your grant ends. And then more information will be available on your final performance reports and what's expected and what you need to make sure you're including. And that'll be coming soon. Okay, moving on to our events. And so just to let you know, so we are, October 1st begins, well, actually, soon our contract with OIE begins anew. And so we're starting a new year as well. I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently, but still wanting to make sure we are available and providing the support necessary for both OIE and for your success. And so just wanted to let you know that NYCP talking circles in general will be done quarterly. And so the NYCP, your next talking circle will be November 11th. This is the time too, I just want to sort of let you folks know, if you do have other people, or maybe your contact information has changed, or your project director has changed, or there's other people that need to be on and participating in the talking circle, please send the email and their contact information or new contact information to the OIE at SEI Services email, because we are going to be sending out notices, the invites to all of the upcoming talking circles and new events and sort of the office hours. And we want to make sure everybody is getting those new invites. And so you want to make sure that you're getting us the most recent and up-to-date contact information. And so just to let you know, again, NYCP Talking Circle, November 11th. Make sure we have your updated contact information, so we're sending that invite out to you. The office hours will remain monthly. That has been such a great support, we feel, and a great sort of touch point, that those will remain monthly. So September 23rd will be the next office hours coming up. Also, you have the trauma and resilience in tribal communities. It's a 2-part series. You are going to want to make the both days if you can. both sessions because they are connected. And so while we'll be recording, if you can only make it to one and you can't make it to the other, you can pick up the recording on it, on the one that you missed. But they're very connected to each other. And so if you don't get one, you're not getting the full training. So I really want to encourage you to pick up both sessions. Oh, I see somebody saying November 11th is Veterans Day. You're right. Well, stay tuned for the invite. Even more reason to get your updated contact information because we'll probably need to change that. Thanks, Allison, for cueing me into that. No, it's all good. Thank you. And so the poll will be popping up for this webinar. It should be coming up soon. Let us know if this was a beneficial program. Again, we collect the data and we actually review the data as well. So that poll should be popping up. Let's see. Can you folks see it yet? Let's see.
Yep, it's there.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you. So take some time to do that. And as you're doing that, I'll just sort of go through, again, the contact information. You want to make sure that you are sending your project director information for all of your grant communication, your update information. Make sure that Donna has that, as well as make sure that as it relates to any of our events, that you're sending the people and their updated contact information to the OIE at seiservices.com. And then always check us out on Twitter at OIE Indian Ed. We put up different type training, not just what we're providing or what OIE is providing, but some relevant training that other providers are providing, as well as funding opportunities and some of the exciting and latest work that's going on with your organizations. Okay, make sure everyone has a chance to do the poll. Please, we're finished now. And so please, before you leave, I'm letting you guys out a little, can capture 7 more minutes of your day, which I know is really important for you folks. So every minute counts, right? And so have a glorious and wonderful day. Please make sure you complete the end of event feedback poll before leaving. And I will see you November sometime. Look for that invite. Take care, everyone.